Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the CMMG Banshee 300 series in this sexy slate gray, because you guys know gray is one of my favorite colors on anything that goes bang. So before we go any further, let's address two things. One, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn the bell notification icon on, and I know I am not doing a very good job channeling my inner donut operator here with the mustache. It's just not working for me. So a couple months back, I had reached out to CMMG and they were nice enough to let me pick one of their AR9s to play with. And I chose this one for a couple of very specific reasons, and it has to do with how it operates. Now, CMMG does make versions of this that take Glock mags, SIG mags, AK variants. They've pretty much got something for everybody when it comes into their Banshee pistol platform. But we're gonna talk about all the specs on this thing, what it fires like out there on the range, of course the trigger, do some of those pull tests, talk about that radial delay blowback, because this is a little bit of a different operating system as a standard bolt and carry group. And that kind of leads into how efficient it is, how it works, and the fact that it runs, for at least for me, 100% reliable. And then we're going to talk about a few of the cool things that are coming up on the channels. Let's talk a little bit about how this thing ran on the range, because this thing literally just had me giggling out there. There's a reason I was laughing, because I had done just a bunch of flubs that day, and a buddy was with me laughing at me the whole time because I had done some stupid things like forgetting to actually chamber around, kind of like this right here.
That's what I asked the other day to charge it.
So it was definitely a fun day. It's always good when you're out there and your friends are making fun of you because you're making those small mistakes, but nevertheless, that's stuff that you all deserve to see as well. Now, other than those few little mess ups I had out there, this thing ran literally like a Banshee out there on the range. It was a ton of fun out there, put some really good rounds through it. And this is the first AR9 that I've had the opportunity to keep long term and just run round after round and mag after mag. Now, it was very easy because, like I said, this is the same manual as arms, so everything was the same as running any AR that I have right now. Now, the recoil obviously was very minimal being an AR9. You will see a little bit of lift in it when I'm initially shooting it, and that was because it was 116 that day, and the rip brace back here was literally just so hot that it was just very, very loose. It has nothing to do with the quality of it, just has to do with the fact that it was super hot in the state of Arizona that day. Used to how short this thing is, because if you're used to running something longer, you have a tendency to want to reach further than right here, which wouldn't be a good thing, especially if you're pulling the trigger. So for us bigger fellas, you really got to make sure that you stop right here and use that native integrated into the rail stop. Because if you don't, you're going to get really close like this video right here. That, of course, is a reason you always want to make it a point to go out and train with anything you've just purchased like this, or you're out there using with friends or something, because the last thing you want is to put your hand a little further than you're supposed to and get that painful finger bang. Now, make sure you guys stick around for the whole video, because we're going to talk about how this radial delayed blowback system works, and I'm going to kind of break it down to the easiest thing I could think of as to why it is kind of a more efficient system than some of the others out there, being that you're shooting a much smaller, less pressured round in there than a 5.56 or a 223. We are going to go ahead and get into this little CMMG Banshee right now. All right, let's jump into this Banshee, the CMMG 300 series. So a couple cool things in here, kind of look at it overall, and then we'll get into those detailed specs. Let's talk about that gray. That is a slate gray, and it is sexy. It's almost kind of a little bit bluish, and it's got what almost looks like a little bit of metal flake in that Cerakote. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it is definitely good looking. Let's go ahead and go from muzzle on back before we get into the direct specs. So you can see that nice little M-LOK accessory rail. That's just enough to get your hand on up there for those that are into the pistol platforms. Got that threaded barrel with a thread protector on it. Nice little barricade stop right there. Trust me, that's a good idea. As you saw in that little short video earlier, you definitely want to make sure your hand's in the right place when you get up on this. Of course, you get all that pick rail across the top. Got that Vortex crossfire on there, that red dot, which is one of my favorite budget setups there. That nice ambidextrous extended charging handle. That's a very nice option. Kind of everything standard looking back, but you do have a ambidextrous safety there, and then you've got that nice little ambi sling adapter right there. That rip brace where you can just pull it directly out like that, 5 position. It's cool, it's nice. Like I said, it got a little bit loose, but that's only because of that extreme heat. Mag pull grip, mag pull, little extended guard there for you. talk about the direct specs on here, get that out of the way. Then we're going to break this thing down and get into how this bolt and this radial delay blowback system actually works. So we know this is the 9mm variant. CMMG does have a ton of options out there, whether it's 5.56, 223, they've got the 7.62 by 39, they've got the 9, they've got the 45, they've got the 10mm. They've got an option for you. Barrel, 5 inches, 4140 chromoly steel, good stuff. Got that thread protector like I said in there. So there is no gas port on this barrel, and that has to do with how that radial delay blowback bolt and carrier system in there works. Like that Cerakote on the 300, which is the series this one is, you get some standard Cerakote options, this one being the gray, sexiest slate gray I've seen, that's why I chose it. Of course, like I said, you got that ambi charging handle oversized, you got the Magpul oversized trigger guard right here, you got the ambi safety, that Magpul MOE grip, the rip brace, the ambi sling adapters right here. So on the upper and lower receiver, we are 7075 T6 aluminum forged, both on the upper and lower. That's good stuff. Forged, if you talk to metal people, they say forged is the stronger stuff out there. Coming in at a weight of 4 pounds and 6 ounces, so it's light, guys. And then the overall length with this thing collapsed here, this brace collapsed, 18.9 inches, and of course it has that lifetime CMMG warranty. You're going to notice some differences right up front. One, there ain't no gas rings, and two, there's a funky looking little spring right here on the actual bolt. For those that don't know, this is called the carrier, this is called the key, this is the actual bolt. You got your cam pin, your retaining pin, and your firing pin. So you can look in here and you can see that it's been properly staked. And get that focused on there for you. So that has been properly staked in here, which is what you're looking for. So that's not going to come off. Although on this one, it's not really getting gas. It's not getting gas at all. So that doesn't really matter, but they still staked it because normally ARs, that's where the gas goes down in. It's just this works differently. So talking about this bolt, obviously we can see we have that spring on there. The extractor claw and everything in there is pretty much the same. But it just looks a little different because we're not dealing with gas coming in here, expanding rings like in a standard rifle platform, and then blowing that back into the bolt. The reason for that action is, as that round goes down range, the bolt is compressing into the carrier like that. What that's allowing the system to do is build that pressure into the barrel as this spring is compressing, which gives it enough pressure to then cycle that bolt back and forth. Very simple when you think about it, everyone. Very, very simple. So instead of a gas tube coming in here and blowing gas down into here and the rings expanding, it's using the direct pressure going down the barrel, okay, if the round's coming out, that pressure's building, the spring takes up, pressure's being built, and then it allows the bolt to go back going forward. Quite a bit better than, I guess, factory mil-spec triggers that I have used, but it's probably right around that, I want to say 5 pound mark, but it does feel quite smooth. So let's go ahead and do some pulls on it. We'll see where we're at. All right, so that one, a little high for what it feels like. Get that to focus in for you. Just under 6 pounds, probably about 6 pounds and 10 ounces. We'll do a couple more. And like I've said on a few videos, the lower you get down on that trigger, okay, the lower you get down here rather than riding high, the lighter the trigger feel is going to be. So if I pull a little bit lower on this, you can see right there. So that time it pulled about 5 pounds and 4 ounces because I was a little lower on the trigger. We'll just do one more and you guys will have a very good idea of what this is gonna feel like. So that one, right at 5 pounds, which is honestly kind of what it felt like to me just out there on the range. Very cool setup here. Let's go ahead and talk about a couple positives, a couple negatives, if there's anything that I would change on this, and wrap this up. Well, that's just a nice little setup, and one of the coolest things about having an AR9 that runs the same manual of arms as your current AR rifles is, you get to run 9mm, which especially right now is a lot cheaper, although it's still really hard to find, but definitely a lot cheaper than 223 or 5.56. Now the rip brace and the way it deploys, just yanking it out like that is really nice. It's cool. And I didn't expect it to kind of be as smooth as it was, although you did see in the heat in the video, it does get a little loose up here, but so does the SB Tactical stuff. And that just has to do with the flat out amount of heat that this thing was in out there in that Arizona sun on a 116-degree day. Now that radial delay blowback system on there is the heart of this and what allows it to function 100% reliable like it did. And then of course that last round bolt lock, run these years ago, and I have torn my hands up, either coming off the charging handle or coming in like this. I have just galled myself up more than I can ever want to remember on those things. But a lot of people do fine with them. But me, with my bigger hands, these things just don't work for me. Other than that, this thing is just a sexy gray shooter out there on the range, and it is definitely a ton of fun to run. Now let's talk about that price, because this little demon is not as cheap as, say, like the Palmetto State stuff. I want to say you can get or build those things for around that 500 mark. Now this bad boy is right around $1375, but there are reasons for that. One, I fired the Palmetto State stuff. I've used it, I've run it. It ran reliably. Definitely not the build quality like this is. You just don't get the quality, and you're not going to get the options, especially to run those PMags like this, get that last round bolt lock thing. You're not going to have that. So, you know, it may be worth it, it may not be worth it. For me, I can tell you, when I have to send this thing back, if I send it back, if they don't let me buy it, because I don't have plans on sending this back unless they don't let me buy it. So $1375. For me, that's a price I'm willing to pay for this, being that it has the options that it does. Get out there and enjoy some life. I know ammo is really tough right now and really expensive. You guys get out there and have some fun. I will see you all on the next one.